Hi guys, Debbie here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back, and welcome to this video, which is the next in my Debbie Does December series. I'm uploading every other day, all the odd days of the month throughout December, and about 50% of those videos are collabs, and this one is no exception. So I'm super excited for this one. It's with my friend Kaitlyn, and we're going to be talking about all the eyeshadow palettes that we recommend for the festive season. So if you want to take a trip through my festive eyeshadow palette, some from the past, some from the present, then please keep on watching. Okay, so before we kick off the video and I show you the palettes that I recommend for the festive season from my collection, I just want to talk to you a little bit about Kaitlyn. Her channel is Kaitlyn Fourman, and she's got quite a small channel currently, and her aim for this year is to get to 200 subscribers, and I think as we film this she's at 191. And I'm really excited to introduce you to her, because I don't think those of you that watch me are watching Kaitlyn, and I think you're missing out. She's got a very nice channel. She does a lot of review kind of content on her channel, unboxings of things as well, like Ipsy Glam bags and mystery boxes, things like that. But she does do reviews. Now, Kaitlyn and I've got a funny meeting story that I want to share, and I don't know whether she'll share the same story, but I didn't know of her channel at all. But how I found her was that I was looking for a particular palette, and it's this one, Kaitlyn. I bought it, but it's this one. It's the Stone Vibes by Urban Decay. You guys were asking me, am I going to buy it? Am I going to review it? Because you know how many Urban Decay palettes I have. It's been a massive part of my YouTube journey, talking about my Urban Decay palettes. But I just didn't have the cash, and I thought £46 for it was quite a lot. So I tried to find some reviews to share on my community tab so that I could A, fulfill that review for you guys and not let you down, but also to share a bit of love in the YouTube community, which I love to do. And so I found Kaitlyn's channel. She'd done an amazing review of the palette, made me want to buy it, which obviously I have, and that's how we met. So interesting story, I think, of how to meet somebody, but it's just the power of YouTube and the internet and how it makes you connect with people on so many different levels. I thought you might enjoy to know the story. But let's jump into the palettes that I recommend. And I think, you know, really this one is going to be one to recommend. I've not tried it yet though, so I don't know if I can recommend it as such, because obviously don't know what the formula's like, but the packaging is super festive for a start. That's the palette inside, and I think this one would be perfect if you wanted a sparkly kind of look but a little bit more toned down. So I don't know, you're going for Christmas dinner, you're meeting, like, I don't know, your other half's family. You don't want to be out there with your bright colourful makeup because you might feel a bit like out there and uncomfortable. I mean, I don't care, look at what I'm wearing on my eyes, but you know what I mean. If you're wanting something a little bit more muted but still special and sparkly, I think this ticks the boxes for that. I mean, look at the shimmers in that. I think it's going to be beautiful. I don't mind a little bit of a neutral palette if it's got something special about it. So very excited to have it. I picked it up in the Black Friday sales, and I'll be doing a first impressions on it very, very soon. I know I'm late to the game, but I think you guys might want to know my thoughts and opinions on it because it obviously is still available now. But jumping into my picks for the festive season then, I've got quite a few. I think I've got about 14 to show you. And I think we'll start with the one that I'm wearing on my eyes right now. It's no longer available, and it's one of the only ones by this brand that I could recommend. They're not my favourite eyeshadow formula, but I love this palette. So it's the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice palette. It's the original one because they brought out their Gingerbread Extra Spicy, and this year they brought out the pumpkin one. But this was the original one. And these ones in this metal packaging they bring out for the holiday season are always their best formula. But the reason I love this palette, and the only reason I bought it really, is for this shade here, Hot Toddy. Can you guys see that? I hope it's not reflecting too badly on my ring light. But that shade is a green to like a pinky purple duochrome. So stunning. But it's all the colours you might think of being warm and toasty and kind of gingerbread and Christmas. So I'm wearing this palette on my eyes today, and I've got that Hot Toddy shade kind of in the centre there. And then I've got that shade, what's that one called? Spiced Rum. I've got that on my lower lash line, and some of the darker shades like Reindeer Paws to kind of deepen things up in the outer corner. The formula's really incredible on this one. So if you haven't got this one, but you're wanting something similar, as I say, the pumpkin spice one that's come out this year is still available, and I think would probably do a similar thing in your collection if you're looking for that. Next up, I've got another palette that I've only just recently rediscovered and dipped into. I was just looking for a transition shade to do my red wing liner tutorial that I've only recently uploaded. And if you've seen that one, if you've not, I'll link it for you. But if you've seen that, you'll see that I use this palette, which is the Desi and Katie Dose of Colours Friendcation palette. And it was a collab with YouTubers, Desi and Katie, of course, and Dose of Colours is an indie brand, but a lot larger of an indie brand. And this palette's 2 or 3 years old now, but it's got the most festive glittery packaging. But it's not just that, it's got some incredible shimmers in here. And when I think of Christmas and the type of palettes to use for that, I don't just think of red and greens. I do think of these extra dimensional sparkly kind of shadows that are not pressed glitters, but they're like that micro glitter in a shimmer. And this has got them in abundance. It's got their Block Party formula, which is some of the best they do. And I think there's 4 of that formula in this. This one isn't. This is a matte with sparkles. But this is the palette up close. Hope you can see, and it's not reflecting too badly. I've chosen the most reflective palettes ever. But this shade here is just something else. It's called A Moment, and it's just so pretty. It's purple based with blue sparkles in it. It's just gorgeous. Just a Kiss and Try Me, these two here are really sparkly and reflective as well. Dirty Money is as well. And then you've got some basic mattes. I would have loved to have had a couple of colourful mattes in it to make it perfect for me, but as I say, it's got some interesting colours for being a neutral palette, but it's the formula that stand out in here on those shimmers. As I say, no longer available, but I think a lot of you might own that one and perhaps have forgotten about it like me. Right, next up are some palettes that are currently available, and when I think of Christmas, probably the first 2 that I think of, and they're both by Linda Hallberg. So I've got the Metallic Mysteries 2 and the Enchanted Mysteries. These are pretty expensive palettes. They're £50 each, but they're so beautiful, guys. They're really lovely. Like, I had to think hard before I spent that amount of money to get 4 shades, but I think they're worth it. So this one's the Metallic Mysteries 2. Let's just bring that close so you can see the shades. This shade here, Collision, is so pretty. It's like little tiny sparkles of glitter. It's got a beautiful red shade and a green and then a brown. These are all satin kind of shimmers though, so if you don't like satins you won't like it, but gorgeous formula and very festive palette, I think. And the other one I think is perhaps a bit more special, so the Enchanted Mysteries one. So that's the colour story in this one. Perhaps not quite so much Christmas, but that shade, Lacuna, it's so beautiful. It's a purple to green duochrome. I'm not going to be able to show it, I don't think, on camera. It's really difficult to show. But it's probably one of the most stunning shadows I own. And I did a Christmas look. I wore a outfit that was like sparkly sequin green, and I had that as the focus on my lid. And it was just so beautiful. Worth the price for that alone. But you've got a bunch of formulas in this one. There's a couple of duochromes and then a couple of these more sort of satin shades in there. That one's like a white kind of pinky purple duochrome. And as I say, that's green to purple. So it's an interesting colour combo, but still very festive. But you can't have a festive video without some festive colours, your typical reds and greens. And for the longest time, this was my go-to palette for that, and I made this palette myself out of singles, but it is a palette because it's one of the Pro palettes by Sugarpill, and I just love the shades from Sugarpill, and I love this palette that I've made in particular. So you've got all the shades you might want for Christmas in there. So you've got Acid Berry in there, you've got Love Plus, I can't remember what the shimmery one is. I'll list all the shade names down in the description box in case you're interested, because I think you can still get a lot of these. I've got Taco in there, which is the white, because I did a Candy Canes look with this one, a collab I did a year or so ago, and I use this palette for that. But this just screams Christmas to me, and it gives you those mattes that you need that are like those primary colours to make a Christmas look. The formula's great. This one swatches abysmally, the Love Plus, but it's probably the best red shadow I own. It's the truest red that I own. But if I was to swatch it, it looks awful, but it builds on the eyes incredibly. And that's the thing with sugar pill shadows. They don't swatch that great, but they go on the eyes amazing. So one of my favourites in my collection for this time of year. One that I discovered this year that's got some of those shades in, and lots more besides, that I don't think got the love it deserved, is this one. It's the Hypercolour palette by Suva Beauty. Now, I did a quite comical video on this one, trying to get the UV glow shades to show up UV glow, and I clearly don't have the skills. I couldn't make that happen. But the top row here are UV glows, and you can mix those with water and make eyeliners, or you can blend them out actually. But you've got a red that's a really like bright tomato red in there, and you've got a green. But these shades here are all like, they're not pressed glitters, they're soft kind of spongy glitter. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but you don't feel, or I don't feel scared to use them. They spread out on your eyes to little micro sparkles. They all look white here, but they've all got a shift of a different colour. But when they're packed over the top of either the red or the green, they just look incredible. So that's the Suva Hypercolour. They've got a new one called the Magic and Ecstasy coming out, and it's got a row of pressed glitters. But if they're this formula, then I would really like it. So I don't know. I'm on the fence on whether to pick it up or whether they would just be pressed glitters, because there is 5 of them in there. I don't know whether to risk it, but not seen any reviews on it. But I think Suva have got an incredible matte formula, and nobody really talks about them. You know, they talk about them in terms of their hydro liners, but not their eyeshadows. And I had such a good time with that palette. And also it just goes to show that a palette that comes out in the summer can still be a Christmas palette. It doesn't have to have a Christmas theme about it or whatever to be a Christmas palette in my eyes, or one that I would use at festive times. Okay, next up might be an unusual choice for a lot of you, but it's this one, the Kaleidos Makeup Futurism 3 Astro Pink palette. So why have I chosen this one? Well, I think cranberry is such a Christmas colour, and this palette has the best cranberry in the world in there, I think. So it's this shade here in the centre. It's just so good, and you could do some frosty vibes with this one with the blue and the kind of pinky white shade. So I think you get a frosty look out of it. But that cranberry shade, if you're looking for the perfect Christmas cranberry pink that is so pigmented and so vivid on the eyes, you cannot go wrong with this palette. I've raved about Kaleidos makeup all year, and every palette is good. They're all the same quality, and you know, in these little palettes like this, just a case of finding the colour story that you like the best. But I just thought that is such a Christmassy cranberry that I couldn't not mention it. Okay, moving on, a discovery I've made this year, and I do want to buy more from this brand. It's a UK indie brand, and it's called Lois Cosmetics. Now I did I think a 3 looks 1 palette with this. This is their Gone Rogue palette. They had a Rose Metals, which was like a neutral palette, and then they had this one, and this has got a bunch of rainbow colours, but I think it is so festive. So if I show you that close up, you've got a red shade, you've got a green, and I think you could make some beautiful festive looks with those colours. You've also, if you like pressed glitter, there's a very pretty teal to purple pressed glitter in there, which will look really festive and sparkly on the eyes. But for me, that's one of the best green shimmers I've ever come across. The red's a bit more of a pinky red. I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't a bright red like it looks there, but I think it would still make a really festive look. And if you've bought this palette, then why not try it for some Christmas looks? We've got 5 palettes left in my countdown, and I'm moving back in time a little bit and back to Urban Decay. Now I'm not sure if this is available anymore. It's a shame if it's not, because it's an absolute classic, one of the best they've ever done, I think. And it's the Moondust palette. And you can still buy Moondust singles, I believe. I'm not sure if you can get this palette, but this is incredible. So that's the colours in there. When I use that green shade out of the Linda Hallberg palette, out of the Enchanted Mysteries, I use that green over the top sometimes. It just gives it that extra pizzazz to it. But these are great because They've got almost a transparent base with some glitter, but there's enough pigment to kind of make them not just topper shades, so you can use them on their own. The only thing that's not great from my perspective is they work best using your fingers, which is not my preferred method of application, but the effect you get from them is so worth it that I'm prepared to do it with these, because just for that extra bit of pizzazz and sparkle just in the centre of your lids, this is incredible. So if you've still got this in your collection and you've forgotten about it, dig it out over Christmas. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's got some beautiful shades in there. And funnily enough, I don't normally go so much for blues or greens. I'm more normally in this kind of side, but these are the ones I think are the prettiest in this palette. Okay, next up, if you want a sparkly, beautiful shimmer shade, but you don't really want so much of that glitter, and you're perhaps wanting it more for maybe daytime, or you're wanting a glam day to night look, this palette is incredible. And it's the Sultry Palette from Anastasia. Beautiful glittery packaging, of course. This palette was their holiday release for 2019 and it disappeared, but it came back for this year. So I think some of you might have bought it in the restock, and it is still available right now. Never used this on my channel and I intend to very soon. So that's the palette close up. It's got all of the different tones of shimmer, a little bit more cool toned. Cyborg is such an amazing silver, that's why I bought the palette, but there's so many good kind of steampunk kind of shimmers in here. It's definitely that kind of vibes to it. There's the shade Bloom, which always made me laugh when I was watching reviews on this, because the people that were reviewing this palette were buying it because it was neutral and they hated that shade, and then the people that were buying it but loved this shade thought the rest of it was too neutral. I love it. I think you've got a black so you can make it super deep and dramatic. You've got a silver, you've got kind of gunmetal-y shades, you've got rose gold shades. So you've got all your neutral kind of shimmers, but all slightly different tones to them, and you can make some amazing looks with it. My favourite thing to do with it is to put Bloom kind of in my inner corner and just this kind of part of my crease here. Deepen up in the outer corner with black, but kind of do it as a shadow wing, and then the silver on the lid, and I just think that looks really pretty. So it's a great formula, one of the best shimmer formulas that they've ever done from Anastasia. Some of them are very hard to pick up on a brush, like Electric from the Subculture is really, really difficult to pick up on a brush, but this is a gorgeous formula that you can use with a brush. Super creamy, super reflective, highly recommend if you can still pick it up, which I think you can. Okay, so we've got 3 left. So it's not a ranking, by the way, this, it's just my recommendations because I like them all for different reasons, but this has been one of my favourites of the year in terms of how it's been executed and the colours that are in it. I just need to find time to use it more, and I definitely am going to. It's the Nomad Cosmetics Orient Express palette. I've done one video on it and that's the only time I've used it on camera, and then I've used it a couple of times off camera and featured it in my gold shadow swatch video. But it's here for Christmas because I think this is such a Christmassy palette. I mean, this came out in the summer, but you've got the greens, you've got the red, you've got whites, you've got frosty blue and white together. You've got a gorgeous green to like gold duochrome. You've got a gold shimmer shade. You've got everything you need to create a Christmas look, but then you've got some neutrals as well to make it a bit more wearable for a lot of people. So I think this was a fantastic palette. I was surprised that the reception wasn't, you know, more so for this palette and that people weren't raving about it more, because Nomad have got incredible quality shimmers particularly. I love their mattes, but their shimmers are just something else. You just need to try them, they're on another level. So really excited to dig into this more. I'm going to be doing a video before the end of Debbie Does December using this palette, spoiler alert, because I really think I can make a most gorgeous Christmassy look using this. Can't wait to do so. Okay, next up, I'm really excited for this palette. I think I can recommend it based on the fact that I've tried others from this brand and they're very consistent and have an amazing formula. But it's my Christmas present to me. Very, very expensive palette. It's a Pat McGrath palette and it's the Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction. So this is the packaging, weighs a ton, it's like a brick to hold up. Picked it up in their sale from the Pat McGrath website. I think I paid about £70 for it, which was incredible. And I've wanted this forever and ever. I think it's the most beautiful colour story of all the Mothership palettes, to be honest with you. So that's the palette, and the two shades I wanted it for were these two. So that red is just super reflective and beautiful, and then that Blitz Astral shade there, which is like a gold green with micro kind of shimmery sparkle in it. We've also got a really nice sort of aubergine matte over here, which I think would be the basis for a lot of my colours. You've got some neutrals, but it's these four shades that make it so Christmassy for me. And it's for anyone out there that wants that sparkle on their lids and a really beautiful reflective Christmassy look, but perhaps you don't want to venture into full-on kind of red and green kind of matte territory like the Sugar Pill shades, but you still want that nod to Christmas in your look. I think it's perfect for that. And very multi-use, because you've got some mattes in here, like kind of mid-tony sort of mattes that you could use to just create, as I say, an everyday look, or even use in your brows. So yeah, I'm super happy to finally own this. I've not even swatched it or touched it, and I'll probably do a video with this one very, very soon. But I couldn't end the video without talking about this palette. Now, you can't get it anymore, and this is just a bit of fun really, but this palette by Pure, it's the Pure X Grinch palette that came out for the release of the animated version of the Grinch. And it's such a festive palette. It opens up like you've got a little Christmas scene inside. And then the palette comes out of the front. And that's the palette on the inside. And it's got a couple of pressed glitters. I hate pressed glitters, but I just couldn't not have this palette. I love the movie The Grinch anyway. And I wanted to try Pure because I'd never really tried many of their eyeshadows. I've got their little vanity palettes that came out years ago, but I've never tried many of their palettes. And I think it's not quite deep enough and green enough for me. Like if that was a shimmer shade or even a deep matte, and same with that, it would have been perfect. You can't get too much depth out of it. But the standout in this palette is not the shadows at all, it's the face products. That blush is incredible, Heart of Who, and Feeling Frosty, the highlight, are both incredibly good. And I think I've had this palette 3 years now, and it's what I always enjoy to play with at this time of the year. It just fills my heart with joy opening this and just bringing it out and playing with it again. So just wanted to mention that one in case any of you have got it. Just have a bit of fun with it and get that one out. It just is such a festive palette. So that's it guys, that's all of my recommendations for this video for all of the festive palettes that I dip into at this time of year. Now, it's not all new palettes, and I could have gone into a lot newer things than I have here, but I didn't want to encourage you to go out and buy more things that you don't need. And what I wanted it to be about is like that trip into your collection that's kind of exciting to me. I love doing that, like that, shopping your stash, going through some of the things from the past and thinking, wow, I haven't used that, and that evokes so many memories for me of like a Christmas party or something I did at this festive time of year. I'm such a nostalgic person, and so I love to do that. And I just thought it might be a little bit of fun to see some things from the past, but also see some of the new as well, and also to have a range of products from high-end to luxury to indie to mainstream, something for everyone. And whether you're looking for something ultra bright and colourful, or whether you were looking for something a little bit sparkly but more on the neutral side, I hope I've got you covered with this video. It was so much fun to film. Kaitlyn, thank you so much for reaching out to offer to collab with me. Guys, please pop over and check out Kaitlyn's channel. As I say, I know you're going to love her. She's got a very easygoing style. Like, you feel like you're just watching your friend applying makeup. I find her a pleasure to watch. Let's see if we can make her Christmas and get her to that goal that she's got for this year to get to 200 subscribers. She just needs 9 more. You're such an amazing community that I have on this channel. I know you'll support her. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're new from Kaitlyn's channel, hi, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. And if you're new to my channel in general, I hope you might consider subscribing before you go. But other than that, guys, hope you're having a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.